We talked about the elements of your listing that will help you get your product seen in the search results on Amazon. In this video, let's talk about your product descriptions and the ever important bullet points. If you already have your product listing started, this information will show up on the product details page. Let's talk about the bullet points first because those will be seen with every single product that you list on Amazon. The bullet points are one of the most important things for product listings. This draws the attention of the customer and is just another way to showcase the information about your product. You can have 1 to 5 bullet points in your listing, and Amazon recommends using 4 or 5, but I recommend using all 5, and there's a reason. You don't want to exceed 15 words or 500 characters per point, which is 1,000 characters total. You want to put them in order of importance, and you want them to be very clear with regards to your product. You also do not want to overstuff these bullet points with keywords. Remember, the idea here is to catch the attention of your customer and explain your product, not rank in SEO with these bullet points. Although you may rank in SEO with the bullet points just from the words that you use, but use general terms and be very descriptive about the product and don't overstuff it like you would when you're trying to rank. I'll throw some examples up on the screen to give you an idea of what kind of bullet points you might want to include. These are going to be different for every single product. You want to highlight the top 5 features of your products. So let's take my stickers, for instance. A lot of my items are specific sizes. So I will highlight the size of each sticker, the size of the sheet, how many stickers are on the sheet, the colors if they match a particular planner. I also am starting to gear my stickers more towards planners and bullet journals and notebooks that you can turn into planners. So you can kind of position your product where it fits a bunch of different like categories, as in I'm doing. So like if you make candles, you can position them to where they're good as gifts, they're good to purchase for yourself, they're good to purchase for kids. There's lots of different ways you can position your product to make sure that you sell more of it. By getting away from a specific colorway in my stickers, now I've opened it up to where more people are going to be wanting to purchase my product because it doesn't match a specific planner, if that makes sense. Because you want to take out your top 5 kind of descriptors about your product, some of the things that Amazon recommends are dimensions, age appropriateness, if it's for kids or adults or elderly or a specific health thing, you may want to highlight that. The country of origin, if that matters for your product. I'm handmade, so obviously everything comes from me. I purchase raw materials to make my products, but everything comes from and is manufactured in North Carolina. So that's something I really don't need to put in my listing. And one of the things we talked about in the earlier videos is that Amazon, because we're handmade, will actually put our state on the listing so everyone knows where it's coming from. The other thing you might want to include is warranty information. If you have a warranty on your product, like the camera that I'm filming this on includes a certain number of days in their warranty and you have to register the product and all that. So that may be something you want to include on your product page. There are also ways to link the warranty and user manuals and all that kind of stuff, which is a total nother video, but that's one of the things that if there is a warranty, you want to include that in your bullet points. Some things you want to avoid in your bullet points are pricing information. That's going to be on the side. You don't need to include that. Shipping information, because that is something they will see when they check out, and your company information, because they can see that when they click on your store name. You also don't want to have marketing or advertising content. None of that fast seller, bestseller, anything like that. You don't want to include that in your bullet points. These are strictly for information for the customer. These bullet points will always be seen no matter how you list your product, with A+ content, with no A+ content, however you list your product, these bullet points will always be seen. You can't use HTML code or any kind of like line breaks or anything like that. We used to have to do that with Handmade in the description to get the bullet points, but since Amazon added the bullet points as an option, we don't need to do that anymore. So HTML code is just gonna look funky in the bullet points and you don't want to use that. You also don't want to use run-on sentences. Make it easy to read. Mine strictly says on matte white sticker paper or on transparent sticker paper, or includes 234 stickers per sheet. However you want to list that but definitely don't use run-on sentences and make it very easy to read and digest. One of the things Amazon can do is they can remove your bullet points if for some reason they violate any of the terms. I had one of my listings completely suppressed for something that was in a bullet point. I put for use in bullet journals, and because a bullet journal is a trademarked phrase, which I think is crazy, but because that is a trademarked phrase, it suppressed my listing and would not show up. So I fixed it and it was back up pretty quickly, but that is one thing you want to make sure you don't use any trademarked phrases in your bullet points because they will suppress it. I do want to make a note about my bullet points. I'll throw them up again, but one of the things that Amazon kind of says you shouldn't do is include information about shipping or custom orders or anything like that. But because we're handmade sellers, one of the things that I like to include, probably not on every listing, but a lot of my listings, is to say that my products are handmade and therefore may be slightly different from sticker to sticker or, you know, line by line. I mean, I'm using a machine and I have to monitor the machine, so the cut maybe gets slightly off. So things like that, I want them to know that it is a handmade item, so it may vary. You could definitely add that to your products because you're competing in a marketplace that has mass-produced items. I will say, however, I have ordered sticker books from Happy Planner or gotten sticker books from Happy Planner, and they have more flaws than mine do. So I don't know how relevant it is to say that just because we're not mass-produced that we're gonna have flaws. It's not that. It's to say that, you know, if you're doing something that's you're making a candle and it's a lavender scented candle, so you make it purple, the purple could vary from batch to batch, right? So you wanna make sure that the customer knows that if they order two and for some reason got two out of different lots, they may be slightly different. Just something to keep in mind when you're doing your bullet points. You can add that if you're really struggling for a bullet point, which I am sometimes because my products are stickers. There's only so many ways to describe them. I also typically include in some of my listings that I can do custom orders because I'm a handmade seller, and when you're searching inside Amazon, you may not always see that right away, especially on mobile. I like to include in the bullet points that I can do custom orders. So if they like the icon, but they don't want all the different colors, they just want it to be one color, they can message me and request a specific color or a specific item. That's something to keep in mind, that you can include that if you can do custom orders. You might want to include that in some of your listings. Like I said, it's not in all of my listings, but it's in certain ones, and it's good to always make sure your customer is aware of that. The description box. So the description box may or may not appear on your listing. A lot of my products don't have a product description. Because I have A+ content and I have added my A+ content to most of my listings, the description that I put into Amazon does not always appear. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't include the description. I still put a description in case something were to happen that my A+ content gets pulled for referencing, you know, the Carolina hurricanes or something. Then I want to make sure that the description would still be there and it wouldn't just be blank. Keep that in mind when you're listing. You definitely want to include it, even though it may or may not show up on your listing. I have some listings that I have not added my A+ content to, because to be honest, you have to add them every time you add a listing, so it's kind of hard for me to keep up with, and I try to put the A+ content on everything, but sometimes when I'm updating, I forget to go in and add it back. So just something to keep in mind, that you do want to fill in the description box, even though it may not always be seen. So let's talk about how the description differs from the bullet points. You do want to include any major information about your product and not repeat what's in the bullet points. And that may be kind of difficult, especially with some of the items like my stickers. There's only so many things you can talk about. So I try to give this more of that fluffy intro that you would see on something like, you know, some of the bigger brands like Nike or something may have like more of a fluffier intro that they include for their products that's not as information heavy. So you can do that. If you don't have the A+ content, this will show up above your bullet points, and I will try to pop another example up here. I'm trying to do examples because I know you guys like to see them, but not doubling up on the information is definitely hard to do and is something I struggle with sometimes. You can include keywords and search terms in the description. So if you're like, I have something I'm working on that's dragon themed, so I could include more more about how these are fantasy dragons or includes different types of stickers. It's not just dragons, like there's some other, like there's a castle or books or whatever. You can include all of that in your description and it won't take away from your bullet points. So that's something to keep in mind too. Again, you don't want to overstuff with the keywords. You can definitely put some more in there because this is more of that like fluff description, but you can definitely overstuff it and make it hard for the reader to understand. So just something to keep in mind when you're working on your description. And we will talk about A+ content in another series. I'm going to do a series on brand registry and some of the things you get with that, and we'll kind of go over A+ content in that series. Just some other notes about doing a description. So like I said, if you've already got your product listed, it will come up in the product details page. If you're starting a listing from scratch, you're going to have a slightly different screen than you will once you've created the product. So one other thing that I wanted to talk about in this video that kind of goes along with the description and the bullet points is variations. Okay guys, so this is editing Amy, and I realized that when I was talking about variations, I wasn't super clear on a lot of things, and there's a lot of stuff that I won't say got wrong, but just didn't realize. So when you're starting, this is a listing from scratch, I think. Yeah, so this is one I had already been playing with, and I filled in just some of the important things to kind of get it to jump to the next thing. So I've already filled in the product identity, and one of the things we have here is this variations tab. So you can say no and all these options go away, but when I click on yes, you get a ton of different options here. So you've got pattern, color, scent name, style name, material, size, length, and width. So I'm just going to click a couple of these, and you can kind of see that as I'm clicking on these, some of the things will disappear. So you can have 3, but when I click on some of these, like I'm going to uncheck this one, and I've got color and length. When I do that, that's the only 2 options I can have. But if I don't have length and I have style name, I can also click size. So there's a couple of different ways you can set up your variations. And just keep in mind that when you click on some of them, you may only be able to do 2, but some of the others you may be able to have like 3 or 4. Also note that if you just click one, like I just click on color and I jump over to the actual variations tab here, I can still choose these other options like I could on the previous screen. So they don't necessarily go away. It just kind of fills in this bottom part where you can do color. The other thing I want to note is that when I was kind of playing around with this, when you click on pattern, like it gives you some options. Like I can select some that are predetermined, but I can also type in one on my own, and I can't spell. So I can type in my own. I can add my own pattern, or with color, you can type in your color. But I think earlier it was giving me options. So you can type in your own colors. But if I were to delete these and change my options at the top, like instead of pattern, say I do size. If I do size, it gives me a list, but it only goes to extra small. So say I want to add one that's like an extra, extra small, I can add that as well. I don't have to stick with just the predetermined sizes that they have. So just something to keep in mind, and something that I realized when I started like playing around with this a little bit. So I thought I would do like a screen record and show you this. One of the other things is you do have a link here for how to create product variations, and it's going to jump over to a video that will talk about how to create them at one time. You can do a bulk upload if you already have variations set up, and you can go in and let me just cancel. The other thing I wanted to show you guys was, so here is one of the ones I have that's days of the week stickers, and I already have some variations on this. So there's a black option and a colorful option. I can edit each one of these individually, or I can go into the main listing and edit the main listing. So this is how it kind of groups them together. And when I go into variations, something that it's new is it's added like an image for each one. But I think I can still add, another variation. So once you tell it that you have variations, you can add more later. So something else to keep in mind. And you can also add an existing item from your Amazon catalog to the variation family, paste the SKU below, and enter the item being added. So I can type in like an actual SKU of an item, and it doesn't exist. But if I had this item, it would add it to this variation family and be colorful or black. So this is where I was talking about you can add your own color and you can name it your own thing. Now, what I can't do is add another variation type. So if you were going to set up a listing and you wanted 2 or 3 variations, I would go ahead and add them to begin with, because once they're there and like once it's set up, you can't add a new one later. So go ahead and add the type of variation that you want and have your options down here. And then if you want to add a different material, like if I wanted to have these be a white sticker paper or a transparent sticker paper, I could add those later. So something to keep in mind when you're adding variations, that you want to make sure you've got everything that you think you might want in the future, because you can go in and merge these in variations. So one thing to keep in mind, you can go in and like you can add a variation to these 2 listings, but when you do this, you have to go through creating a new variation family by combining existing standalones, and you have to like download and like do a bunch of stuff, and this scares me when you start having to download things and change their relationship type and then upload it back. So one thing to keep in mind when you're doing the variation is to kind of do it from the beginning. Keep in mind that a confused buyer is not going to buy. So if I'm on Amazon and I'm looking for something for a party or something to gift someone and there's too many options, I'll just click out and go to a different one. Like, I don't have time to sit and think about a bunch of different options. So while you can have a ton of options, you may not want to have all those options. One of the other things about using variations is all of your reviews for all the different materials or sizes or colors will all be grouped under one listing. While you can still see each listing individually in the search results based on color or whatever, then when you click on it, you can still select the other color option. So if I'm searching for a red dress, the red dress will show up in the search results, but when I click on that dress, I'll still see the other colors that are available, the black, the green, the blue, whatever. And all the reviews for all those different colors will show up in the reviews. So it consolidates everything into one like larger listing, even though they all have separate inventory tracking. So by doing this and adding the variations at the beginning and deciding you want to add a new color, if you add it as a variation, you don't have to wait for that new listing to gain traction. When you put a new listing into Amazon, it has 0 views, 0 search results, 0 impressions, 0 clicks, like you're starting from scratch. By using a variation of an existing item, then that allows you to get the traction that it already has. So people are already searching for the dress. Now you're just gaining those extra people that are searching for the red dress versus the blue dress. So it's just something to keep in mind when you're using the variations. It's definitely going to help you when you start to have new colors or new options for that listing. I even had Handmade account person tell me one time that if I was going to do my gym stickers and my bike stickers and my swim stickers, that I should put all of those in one listing and call them like fitness stickers. And I was like, why would I do that? And like, it made me think, and I already had them all listed, so I wasn't gonna take the time to like relist everything and consolidate it, and it really didn't make sense. But it is something to keep in mind that you could group them in a way so that you wouldn't have 120 different products on your main product page. You would just have like 10, and then like there'd be 20 nested under each one. So you could do it that way. I decided not to because I felt like having gym and bike and swim and all that stuff, while they're all sports and they're all fitness related, it really didn't make sense in my head. So I didn't think it would make sense in my customer's head, if that makes sense. You definitely want to make sure that you're listing in a way that your customer is going to be okay with. I don't know another way to put that, but a way that your customer is going to think about how to search for your stickers. My gym stickers are one of my best sellers. They're just little dots with a little barbell on them. So I just call them gym stickers, and they sell like crazy. And if I were to try to nest those in with something, it might totally ruin how people search for them, so I just left them alone. But that's something, another option that you can think about as to how to list with a variation as opposed to having a bunch of individual listings, even though they're still kind of individual. Something else to consider, I know in the Etsy world, we can only have like 2 variations and only a certain number of each one. So a lot of us use the personalization box for extra variations. You're not as limited on Amazon. So think about how you want to list your product. And if for some reason you've been doing like a customized product and you've been calling it custom and you have your buyer put in specific information for your customization, could those customizations be turned into variations like the size or the color or something like that, and you don't need to have it be custom anymore? Because if you have a custom product, you can't put it in FBA. It can never be Prime. So something to consider is the variations can go into Prime and they can be a Prime item where people get them within a couple of days, whereas the custom items cannot. Kind of think about how you're listing your products and how the best way to go forward with them. And if you do have a customized product, like say you do a kid's apron where you can put a name on it, what if you just sell the apron and without the personalization? Maybe I'm a last minute person sometimes with things like that, and I don't think about it until I need it and I don't have time to wait. So there's that option as well, where you can just sell the apron and not put the kid's name on it and make it a variation with different colors or different sizes, and then you can put it into Prime. So you can sell more of them. So something to keep in mind with your listings and how you structure them. And this is definitely something that we're going to go through in my new course that's coming out. We're going to talk more about variations and customizations and what's right for your particular product. That is the description, bullet points, and variations. I hope that you got a lot out of this video and it makes more sense now. If you have any other questions, definitely let me know down in the comments. And if you haven't joined Amazon Handmade yet, what are you waiting for? I have a 3-step checklist that you can download to help you get started. It helps with setting up your account and getting applied to Amazon Handmade. It is primeforsuccess.co/checklist, and it's a free download. And like I said, it's super simple. It's 3 steps to kind of help walk you through what you need to do. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video and you have a nice day. Bye.